Good morning. It is Wednesday now, the 2nd of October, 2019. Is it indeed Wednesday? It is Wednesday already. And today we're going to jump in and take a look at our indicators, sweep through Bitcoin to see if we're going to get any bullish move that I'm expecting, or are we going to slide off right from here? Let's jump in. Before I do, I want to slip past the disclaimer. It's not trading advice, just market observation. Now, let's jump in and abruptly quit the music. I want to double check if I can get this chat box working. It's a point of contention every stream trying to get that chat box to work or not. I never know if it's going to. Good morning, Bluelos. Good to have you along. We are looking at the price of Bitcoin with the relative strength index down below. And the main thing we're watching for in the relative strength index is what is it going to do? What kind of angle is it going to make through the week here? If we're going to continue on the bullish move up, it has to hold its own right here. We can't go any lower than this, or we're definitely sliding lower. In fact, I think that would be the measure of us starting to slide lower on this weekly time frame. So yesterday, the angle of this little candle, this last little leg here, was much steeper. So that it's going flat or easing off lower is bearish, just from that view right there. And as we zoom into the daily view now, I want to watch the angle of this as we're setting up this last little bit here. So once we get past this level and we've broken that, then now we have to rely everything on what's going on below this level to see how it's recovering or if it's slipping off further. And let's zoom in now. So the 12-hour time frame, still on an angle up, and we'll be watching always for this angle to continue or to rise stronger and faster if it's breaking above these levels. And if it isn't, and we're starting to break lower, that is the sign of this sliding like slinkies down the stairs. Let's zoom in on this now and go to the 4-hour time frame. Good, better since yesterday when we saw this setting up. Oh, hard to say. What time is it now? According to this, 03. So yesterday we were here. It was bouncing up, and the RSI was. We were watching to see if the RSI was going to continue this. So far, it's on the trend line. So it's holding its own so far. It still could do that bounce up. Let's zoom in from this to the 1-hour time frame to see if we get any divergences setting up here. Nothing really jumping out at me. Still pretty indecisive until we break one way or another on these levels. And even breaking those levels is important to stage in really small and build on it because of, especially on the bull side, I'm pretty skeptical on that. Let's go into the other indicators and see if they give us anything more solid than this. So if we're looking at the on balance volume, it's still negative and it hasn't picked up with this little tick at the end. We can see the dumping built up here for a while before we slid off. It didn't do the same thing over here. It was actually positive volume here for a while before on the daily view before the big dump. So for me, this is still bearish and more bearish, that we went bearish and more bearish. It hasn't recovered. There's no turnaround setting up here. On the 12-hour time frame, we've got bearish and a little bit less, but more of a dumping angle on this corner. And so I do believe we'll be slipping off sooner than later. Unless this volume switches and continues to bubble positive here. We got a bit of positive, a bit of positive. If we're breaking above these levels, we'll check what the RSI is doing at that time and the on balance volume and the MACD. If it's breaking up at these levels, watch for your live stream. I'll jump on and I'll document what the indicators are doing, one side or the other, as that's unfolding. So for now, we're still stuck in the middle, watching to see which gate we're going to break out of. We got guards on both sides, and we'll catch it when it's going. and then just document it from here. For me, this still is looking more negative when we go into the MACD indicator. And the reason for that looking more negative to me is because we have the setup here where the histogram is longer. This histogram candle is still live, so we'll watch to see how this plays out over the week, but it's not looking good there for the bulls. Now let's zoom in and see what the closer time frames are telling us. Definitely a downtrend that has not caught a bottom. There's no turnaround here. This is down, down, and it broke here. The only thing that could be turning around, if I zoom in on this and then scribble on it, is that we have the histogram pulling back and pulling back. So through the days, if this histogram starts to cross positive and we get across here, it'll change the story, and we'll have to dig in and see what the closer time frames are telling us about this, because that would be a bit of a bullish cross if that did that. Right in these levels, we can see that we did get a bullish cross, but that was out of a double bottom. It was a different bullish cross here. If it crosses, we'll have to check out what's going on, because that is a bigger head and shoulders. I'm not giving this too much juice right now. The 12-hour, like yesterday, is crossed positive, and it's giving a little bit of hope to the bulls out of this formation that it's going to do something. It would have to build that structure and then hesitate here for a bit for me and give us a better crossover on this 12-hour in the longer time, so that it would have to start doing something upward like this as this was building. And then as it bounced above these levels, then we could start to sing a different tune. But it's got a lot of work to do for that yet. This is the beginning of it. This is the beginning of the possibility for it with this 12-hour crossing positive. Let's go in and see what the 4-hour is telling us. Positive like the 12, but easing off here. And should this cross negative and unfold, we're going down. Let's go in closer. Even less clear, because every time we get in here, it's giving us a cross to the positive. If it goes positive, that's good. And then the 4-hour is going to expand out wider. So this will flare back wide again if that 1-hour crosses. So all sorts of nothing that we can really sink our teeth into here today. Really indecisive, and a good day to do nothing in the market, and don't try to second guess it. 5-year, we're looking at the weekly time frame, and the thing I'm looking at here is to see when this blue and red line cross underneath here, to see what's going on with that. Until then, this is actually remains bullish, even though it's come down to these levels, and it could be giving us a buy signal in the uptrend should we come into the cloud with this angle. If we go into the 1-day time frame, it's a very different story. And each time we go through the live stream, I'm reflecting on how the daily was telling us in advance. It gave us quite a bit of advanced warning, and it's not giving us any advanced warning now of a turnaround to the other side. We would have to see this coming. We would have to see this crossover. We would have to see this twist positive. There's no bullish signs here. When we go into the 12-hour time frame, again, there's no bullish signs here. Not yet. This has to cross into the details. The blue has to cross above the red. That's got a twist positive. Nothing doing here. Now let's zoom into the 4-hour time frame. Could be the first signs of that little bit of strength that I'm expecting. I'm still expecting that this is going to come up into these ranges and then give us the fuller move down yet. But I could be wrong. Certainly will be proven wrong if it is coming down below these levels and our indicators are giving us the turn. That'll be it. We can see it. It's not going to make it back up to here to do this test to come back down. But for now, it still gives me the idea that it may do that by looking at the crossover here. It still feels like it's got that little bit of jump to it. Let's zoom in now from the 4-hour. Wow, that's the 4-hour. To the 1-hour. Nothing doing here, and a little bit negative actually. And I see that in the cross here. It's a bit above the cloud, and it could bounce off of here, and above that would be a buy signal off the cloud. But it's not giving me overall. Everything I'm looking at just keeps giving me this little 1, 2, 3 top. It's a double top here. It's broken below this 1, 2, 3 top. It's a little wee head and shoulders there. If it breaks below that, then we're going down significant levels, and it's all sell for me on these setups here. Now let's go on to the look at the Bitcoin longs and shorts here. I was anticipating that the longs were going to come up and touch these levels, and then we would get our big slam down. And if I expand this out and let's take a bigger look at this. So we're looking at the Bitcoin longs, and I want to talk about it over time, because we had, actually it's the June, the July, the August, and September highs in the number of longs, but then we broke significantly lower, and the longs haven't dumped along with prices yet. So I'm expecting that as prices dump further, then we're going to get the longs punished big time, and it's going to come back to these levels. This is when we're going to be looking for our entry or our long position in Bitcoin. And let me just go back to, I'll do this chart. I haven't done this one. 1 year view, zoom all the way out, switch to the log chart view. And I just want to do a simple trend line along this, all the way along. And that's where I'm thinking we're coming back to. And it may be relatively quick out of this little consolidation that we had here. So it could be a pretty nasty move down. So get your shorts ready. And then when it does bounce off these levels a little bit lower than everybody wants it to, then we're going to putter along this for a while before breaking off higher. And we have an enormous, massive triangle, and this is going to go off the chart. So that's what I'm watching for all the way along here, and we'll go through this same story day by day and watch what the indicators are doing, following along these patterns, so that I can capture parts of these videos over time and put them over into our course. Where's that chart I was just looking at now? Okay, back to this one. So there's our longs versus shorts, and what I think is going on with the longs, what I think is going on with Bitcoin over the longer term. Now as we zoom into it right now, we've got Bitcoin easing off and the altcoins coming up into little potential top formations or ascending wedge triangles that are going to be building and taking off. The main thing to measure to see if the altcoins are taking off or not is going to be this Bitcoin dominance chart. And we've got some pretty clear ranges right here. If we break down below the green line, altcoin season is here. If we are going back up above the red line, altcoin season is delayed. And as we're in the middle, it's much time to sit on our hands and just wait for the big momentum to start to show us which way it's going. And then it'll be really time to be doing the first stage of the altcoins in anticipation of a longer trend that may retrace back to April levels. Good morning, M. von Jack Furt. I can't even begin. Let's finish up here by taking a quick look at the October Patreon Bull Market Watch spreadsheet. And what we're watching for here is the bullishness, bearishness index of the overall altcoins. We go through everything on Poloniex and everything on Binance and give them a color coding, and then we add those color codes up to give us these charts. Prices that are neutral are the white or gray line here. So we can see an increase of neutral coins, and we can see a general little decrease in the number of alerts and the holds. So for me, it seems like the alts are hovering and they are pulling back a little bit. If we see the number of blues and reds and oranges increasing on this and the neutral coins continuing to increase over the next few days, then that will give us the inside notice that the Bitcoin dominance is probably going back up. And more than that, it's going to give us the specific individual coins that are in these different statuses. So we can see which ones are in hold status, which ones are in alert status, and more importantly, which ones are in neutral stance that are going to be the next ones to be building up through our bottom formations should the alts be taking off. So I don't know in my longer term prediction, when I go back to this, I think that we'll have an alt. I do believe we're going to have this alt season while this is all shaping up here. As this whole thing shapes up over the next while, I think we will have our alt season. And it will, I think, continue on as Bitcoin turns. So it may be that we get alts really hammered down as Bitcoin comes to these levels. And then as Bitcoin is rising, we could have Bitcoin dominance dropping, just as we had in March of 2017. March of 2017, right in here, we had a top, it pulled back, and then it hammered big time. All of the alts got hammered, and that was the magic moment that all of the alts started to follow along with Bitcoin until July of 2017. July, right in here. So this is when the alts switched and went with Bitcoin. This is when the alts switched and started to go back against Bitcoin. And we had this window of opportunity to make 4,000% profit as this happened. So I think that that window of opportunity will be here after Bitcoin makes its drop back to these levels and everybody shits their pants. So we'll see how that all turns out over time. Well, that's my wrap up for today. Gone through all of the indicators, a little review of the altcoins, a little review of the longer term plan. But as soon as this chart loads up, there we go, we can see that we're sort of, I'm bearish overall. And as this stuff starts to break below these levels and we see this taking its way down, those are short sell signals. And I would start off small and consider to be adding on if it starts to really plummet. And it's a killer because it plummets and then blasts. So this is the reason to start off small with your stop loss. Wait for it. Even though it's crazy, it's hard for me to trade shorts. Always just a small position here. And we'll see how this unfolds over the next few days. So that wraps it up here for today. I will see you guys on the next live stream. If you're not already, come and join us on Discord.